Oh yeah, we live. We live with part two. Oh, oh man. I'm gonna wait for some people to get in here. I just started the live. Did my little divinations, right? Cleaned up, stuff like that. Okay. Did my little meditations. I'm ready to present part two of the Grandmaster class. Light. Okay. What is it? How does it work? All that type of stuff. Okay. So we went over a lot in the first part, but I feel like I left a few things out and I wanted to make more sense, okay? And after these sets of videos, it should be really clear to the collective that they shouldn't be using words like quantum physics no more and stuff like that when conveying points about spirituality and stuff like that. I don't blame the collective. I don't blame nobody personally. Even though people could do their research and stuff like that, they could have found the same stuff I did. All right. We're taught certain stuff, and then we attempt to prove, right, or show evidence that the ancestors wasn't lying. Okay, and there's plenty of scientific evidence already, but a lot of us go above and beyond because a lot of people are teachers. Okay, and as teachers, your number one job is being a student. Okay, a humble student. And me, I got thousands of videos in my YouTube. I got thousands of screenshots of stuff that I gotta look into. I got books written with information of different topics just to search up and look up. And that's outside of me meditating and looking within and getting my own downloads. Okay, so being a teacher is a full-time job because you gotta be a student too. All right. And I understand that other people do the same thing. They got lives and stuff like that. Okay, it's not easy. All right. So just to reiterate a little bit about the first video we was talking about light. What is it? Kind of going through some of the people who basically gave us 100% of our understanding today, modern day understanding of what light is and how it contradicts what we're being told for the scientists that they like to put on a pedestal and say that are right, who use the equations of these people, okay, and what they're talking about is 100% different. So just because a math equation is correct doesn't mean the explanation behind the math equation is correct. Okay, so just to go over a few points on why light can't be a wave or a particle. Okay, because number one, a wave isn't a thing. Okay, you can't point to one wave anywhere and say that's a wave. Okay, it could be a wave of air, it could be a wave in the ocean. Okay, that's water, that's air, which is ether. Okay, that's not a wave. Doesn't explain nothing. A wave isn't a thing. Okay, so nothing can be a wave. Okay, so saying light is a wave is totally contradicting, and it doesn't make sense, and that's not even possible. Okay, and then saying light is a particle is saying light is a vibration in a field, which doesn't explain the field. Okay, so when it comes to the Big Bang and those particles or atoms that collided to create all of this, doesn't explain where the fields came from, okay, or what the fields are or any of that stuff. Okay, and we know that quantum physics goes off this same notion that light is a particle or a wave. All right, and a wave. Okay, a particle wave duality. Okay, which is impossible and goes against every genius who ever taught field theory, who gave us 100% of our understanding of what light is, electromagnetism. Okay, they taught that electricity and magnetism were interrelated. They figured that out. They came up with the equations. Okay, they're the people who built 100% of the electrical grid. Okay, they're the people who built the engines, and basically all of our modern day technology and inventions are because of these people. Okay, and then scientists today go off a model of with who they call Einstein's special relativity and general relativity, okay, which aren't even his theories, okay, that comes from Henry Poincaré, okay, special relativity, okay, and we know a lot of his general relativity is built on Riemann's theory. We know it's Stokes and Maxwell and Lorentz. Is a whole bunch of other people, okay. So what we know for sure, all right, and in the other video I broke down all the things people give credit for when it comes to Einstein, including E equals mc squared, which is Henry Poincaré. Okay, the photoelectric effect, which was someone else who won a Nobel Prize in the same year as Einstein for the same thing. Okay, the only thing he ever contributed to science was calling things space-time. So making space and time a thing. Okay, so space being a physical fabric that you could bend, and time being an actual dimension, which are both wrong. Okay, so the only things he contributed to science are wrong, and all the things that contribute to him that are right are other people's equations and stuff. Okay, so that's how we got to this point. All right, and when it comes to the standard model today, everything is in a crisis. Okay, you can look up particle physics. There's a crisis in particle physics. Okay, there's the strong CP problem. Okay, there's a bunch of predictions that were wrong when it comes to the proton size. Okay, including experiments with spectroscopy and all types of other experiments, okay, which show wrong predictions, okay. Einstein's predictions have been wrong, okay, since light, black holes being only made of light, okay, and spiral galaxies. There's a bunch of predictions that are wrong, okay, which they've modified over time to try and make it right, okay. So when people say special relativity and general relativity works, all they're saying is the mathematics from other people work. Okay, but the model itself doesn't work. Okay, because to explain the natural world, they need 4 theories. Okay, 4 theories. They need quantum physics to explain the micro. They need special relativity and general relativity to explain things on this size. Okay, and a little bit bigger. Okay, and they switch between the two on convenience when they feel like it. Okay, whichever one makes more sense in a moment to them. All right, because they could just ping pong like that. All right, and then for things that are really, really, really big, they need something called modified gravity. Okay, which is a whole different science. Okay, because gravity doesn't work in the macro. Okay, because gravity isn't even what they're saying. So there's certain constants in science that are true. Okay, we could go over like the Planck's constant. Okay, but there are certain constants that aren't true either, right? Like the gravitational constant. And experimentally, they've come up with many numbers. That is not a constant number. That's not my opinion. Okay, so let's go over a little bit on what we talked about. Okay, so earlier, right, we were talking about counter space and the ether. We were talking about magnetism, and we were talking about dielectricity. Okay, so just to reiterate, these dots right here are what you call counter space. You could call them ether. You could call it another dimension, because that's what it is. That's where all things manifest from, is this point right here. Okay, that point right there, that point. Okay, everything manifests from that point. Okay, let me put this phone up here real quick. What's up, yeah? Peace. Okay, let me bring this closer. Okay, so people can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so boom, right? You got counter space, right? When you vibrate this, right? This would be the ether in general, all right? This is what the electric field looks like, all right? So this is a hybrid. Okay, so the electric field is a hybrid between the dielectric, right, which is these dotted lines, okay, which is centipedal convergence. Okay, so these dotted lines are converging into this point right here, okay? And then these solid lines are magnetism, okay? And that is called centrifugal divergence. So these are diverging out, okay? That's what's creating space, okay? Because magnetism equals space, okay? Magnetism, magnitude, mass, okay? And these dotted lines are the power source, all right? So here, expanding and absorbing, this is the way Walter Russell drew it out, okay? So I don't know if this is backwards on the screen. Let me put it here and let me change this so people can see. All right. Very simple. They try to change our science, y'all, and I'm gonna explain why this shit matters. Okay. So boom. Boom. This is the same as this, but this is the vortex version, right? So if you're looking at it, it would be like, ooh, like a vortex, right? Centripetal convergence and centrifugal divergence is the same thing as saying expansion and absorbing, according to Walter Russell. Okay, so expansion would be these dotted, would be the solid line, expanding out. Absorption would be these dotted lines, okay, and it would be going in, absorbing in, converging in, okay? That's what scientists consider positive charge and negative charge. That's what Walter Russell said. Okay, that's what he considered these. Okay, he also considered the expansion radiation, right, and the absorption gravity. Okay, so we went over that. All right, why is that important? These scientists right now in modern day, okay, they're gonna have you thinking that everything is a fucking particle. All right, so everything is particles, and they're making you think particles are the solid thing. All right, so there's no other things besides the particles. All right, and what that does is that takes away spirit. All right, that takes away the non-physical. All right, so according to science right now, everything is particles. It's like this particle pool. It's like playing pool, and particles are a bunch of balls, and they're just hitting and smashing into each other, when that's just not true. Okay, and that goes against every fucking genius in field theory and all the shit they taught. Okay, and why does that matter? Is because the geniuses in science taught exactly what the ancients were teaching. Okay, and they were teaching how physical reality manifests from non-physical reality. Okay, and what scientists do is now they try and quantize everything. They don't focus on the non-physical part, which is the fields, okay, where everything manifests from. Okay, so when we talk about portals, when we talk about spirits and all that shit, motherfuckers are thinking particles, and they're trying to materialize something that's motherfucking not physical. All right, and there's already science behind this shit. Okay, and it's the same shit the ancients are teaching. It's the same shit people are rediscovering and shit and teaching that they're making us ignore now. Okay, and then people in the collective and these teachers, they're all saying shit, and they're trying to do it in a physical way, right? When they talk about quantum entanglement, is two particles, one particle's here, one particle in the other fucking end of the universe, and it's fucking connected to you by a fucking line or some shit. They're trying to physicalize and materialize the fuck out of everything, when really we all exist in the same field, and the particle here could exist over there. It just needs a fucking vibration, a fucking frequency. Okay, it's the same field. We all exist in the same fucking field. Okay, and that shit right there is what they're trying to take away from us. Okay, so this is what they call positive charge, negative charge, right? Battery. That's the toroidal field, right? And then boom, this is the hourglass, right? That's the fucking dielectricity. That's the power, right? Boom. Over here, plane of inertia, right? Zero time, zero everything. Okay, time was a creation by Chronos. Okay, there is no time. Okay, that's very important. Right, so let's reiterate a little things. Okay, so Victor Schauberger, he would call this centripetal movement, centrifugal movement, right? Out, right? Divergence, centrifugal divergence, right? Out. Centripetal, right? In, woo, 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 manifesting to that point, right? 0 point, right? Ether, boom, everything manifests, boom, out. Okay, so when scientists are measuring these things, right, magnetism would equal amps. So when they talk about amps, right, that's what they're talking about, magnetism, okay? And Tesla considered that current flow, okay? And when they're measuring dielectricity, they're talking about volts, okay? Which Tesla considered tension, okay? Now, there's 3 different types of waves, okay? You got the toroidal, right? Which manifests like this, right? Or like this, right? Space, okay? Then you got transverse waves, okay? Transverse would be all electromagnetic, okay? So all electromagnetic waves are transverse, okay? Okay? Then you got longitudinal, right? Which is straight. Okay, this is point source energy. Okay, this is energy from point to point directly, 0 time. This is instant. Okay, this is what the fuck they're calling quantum entanglement and faster than light speed and all this shit. All right, this is what dielectricity is, because it travels through counter space. Okay, so it's not limited by magnetism. Okay, so the electromagnetic frequencies is a hybrid of the dielectric and magnetic. Okay, so anything that's electromagnetic is bound by space. Okay, and in space, the maximum rate that light could go, which is just a propagation, light isn't going nowhere, okay, is light speed. All right, so basically what it is you got something, right? You got the ether, right? And then when you vibrate that motherfucker, it basically excites it and then illuminates that shit. All right? And the maximum rate of that induction, that fucking vibration and shit, they could measure that. And the maximum rate is what they call the speed of light. All right? So light isn't moving. Light is everywhere. Light is the ether being excited. So you got the ether, right? The primordial sea of chaos. And then when you vibrate that shit, it excites it and it fucking lights up. And that's what the fuck light is. But deeper than that, the light isn't always luminous. Alright? So that's why light is different than the ether, because the ether manifests. Alright? Boom. From its original form, and then it's light. But light isn't always luminosity. Alright? Boom. So longitudinal, so that's what all Tesla's inventions we're talking about. And I'm not trying to big up nobody right now, because I know the ancients already did this. So this is all rediscoveries and stuff, and they already give credit. People like Tesla give credit, all right, to Egypt and to all these people, because they already knew that they knew. Okay, and when you see their stuff, you already know. All right, I'm gonna get into that later. I'm gonna show y'all some of the mathematics, the geometry, and how it all makes sense. That they knew what the fuck they was talking about from the beginning. Alright. Right, and I'll give you an example right now. Okay. So this is Victor Schauberger's depictions of that expansion, right, and that absorption, right? That convergence and that divergence, right? Which he called implosion and explosion, right? This is what an electric field looks like. Okay, they draw it out, right, with the 8 points, right? So if a positive charge was a manifest, boom, what they call a positive charge, boom, it will go out like that, right, in all directions, and you signify that by that. That, to the ancients, is spirit. Okay? So when, you know, the Masons or like your ancestors, right, when they were doing their art, they put their knowledge in the art. Okay? So that's why this looks like a ship steering wheel. Alright? The same shit that Cat Williams was wearing. Alright? Because this is the symbol for spirit. Okay? And they put their knowledge in their fucking art. Okay, so that's why the stonemason, all that shit, the geometry and all that, they're putting their knowledge in their fucking art. All right, just like all of y'all that are fucking creators out here putting your knowledge in your fucking art. All right, you're doing the same fucking shit. Okay, so let's go over a few more things, all right, before we get to other points. All right. So, when we look at these math equations, right, there's going to be a lot of plus and minuses, okay? When you see something like plus 1t, that means forward in time. That's what they're talking about, okay? So time exists in electrical equations because they're measuring energy. And to measure energy, you measure the motion, the rate at which something changed. When this wave went from here to here, right? And you're measuring that rate of change. And the way they measure that rate of change is what they call time. But time in electrical equations exists in space, counter space, time, and negative time all at the same time. Okay, so they're just calculating a way to explain motherfucking time. That doesn't mean time exists in all this shit. Okay, and this is where modern scientists also get it fucked up. Alright, and we can get more into that. Okay, so outer space will represent plus 1L. Okay, reverse time minus 1t. Counter space, right, which would be these points, right? Counter space, right, per centimeter plus, right? Counter space would be minus L, which is length. Okay, so outer space, length, magnetism, length, okay? Length per centimeter, negative. Okay, so negative space. Okay. Boom. Alright. And all these things follow the golden ratio. Okay, so 0, 1, 1, 1, 2. When you look at an antenna, the way they set it up, that all follows the golden ratio. Okay. And the golden ratio actually explains how things manifest too, right? So 0 will be the ether, right? The ether, right? Ether, chaos, right? 1, dielectricity, which is ether, right? Boom, magnetism, which would be a hybrid of the dielectricity, right? 1, 1, right? An inversion of the same thing, which is the same thing, right? 0, 1, binary code, right? Which then manifests into 2, boom, the electric field, right? Boom, and then so on, right? Boom, okay? So, per centimeter squared. So scientists, up until the point of Charles Steinmetz, right, would measure things per centimeter. Okay? So Steinmetz ended up coming along, right, and he created the electrical grid, right, and he needed a way to visualize the geometry on the way the motherfucking waves are going through the motherfucking lines. So he created light seconds. Okay, and so light seconds gives you 8 poles of motherfucking polarity in electricity. Okay, so there's really 4 phases of AC and 4 phases of DC. Okay, and that's how you get to these equations right here, which this gives you 8 poles of electricity. Okay, so plus 1, minus 1, plus H, minus H, plus J, minus J, plus K, minus K. Alright, I went over this stuff in the first video. Alright, but it's very important to understand when you see these things what they're talking about. Okay, because plus 1 and minus 1 represent DC. Okay, and AC represent plus 1 and plus J and minus J. Okay, and that's very important. Okay, because when we talk about these plus 1s and minus 1s, alright, we're talking about DC. Okay, so things that are bound by the electromagnetic motherfucking spectrum, okay, because that's DC, direct current. Okay, AC works on dielectricity. Okay, so that's direct motherfucking energy, point to point. That's why when they're saying, oh, Tesla's motherfucking inventions won't work because, oh, you're going to lose all this power because of the inverse square law and all this shit. He's going off point source energy from point to point. That's just not bound by motherfucking space or time or none of that shit. Okay? And that's where scientists get shit fucked up, okay? Even understanding a magnetic field, because they don't know what a magnetic field is, because they're going to tell you a magnetic field has a north pole and a south pole. But that's impossible, because if you cut a magnet in half, there's still a north and south pole. So where's the north and south pole? Show me, right? Because once you cut it in half, it creates a new. So show me where the north and the south is, Okay, all that represents is refraction and compression. Okay. Okay. So all scientists are doing, right, is basically calculating everything within the spatial motherfucking medium. So everything within the electromagnetic spectrum is what they motherfucking measure. That's what the fuck they're calculating. All that shit. Okay? Because all the speed of light, if you want to find the speed of light, right, that's just the maximum rate of disturbance in a vacuum following Planck's constant. And all Planck's constant is, right, this equation. This symbol over 2 pi, right, divided by 2 pi, right? That's Planck's constant, right? What is that? That's light's energy is equal to its frequency times the wavelength divided by the momentum, okay? So the energy of this thing that they're calling light, right? The maximum, right? The light, which should be the wave, right? So you look at the wave. Is it a big wave or is it a smaller wave, right? Which should be more energy, right? Because a smaller wave produces more energy, right? The smaller the capacity, the higher the motherfucking energy, okay? So let's say you got a wave like that. The energy is equal to its frequency, so you call that the infrared frequency, right? So you get the frequency of that, right? Right, times its wavelength, right? So you get the wavelength number, right? And then you divide that by how fast they're saying it's going, which is actually just the rate at which the fucking medium is being disturbed. Okay? So that's how they derive these fucking equations. And they're just talking about the waves that's within the fucking electromagnetic spectrum. Okay? Because scalar waves, right, which are longitudinal energy, aren't even waves. Okay, they're not measured. They don't have a wavelength. Okay, they're not measured in waves. They're measured in voltage. Okay, and volts are dielectricity. Okay, so that's what the fuck these scientists are missing. The motherfucking spirit. The shit that motherfucking isn't bound by space and shit. Okay, scientifically. Alright, so these same symbols, the electric field is the same shit as the fucking black dot within you and your motherfucking medulla oblongata. Okay, dots. Okay, Darth Vader, the motherfucking dark side. Okay, the shit that all the light manifests from. Alright, the shit that you try to cut you off from. Only focus on the light. Don't focus on the dark. That's where all the motherfucking energy comes from. Alright, that's where everything comes from. Alright, spirit and motherfucking everything. Okay, so let's go over a recap on how the fuck scientists got to this point. How we got to this point. You know what I mean? The motherfuckers don't even know what the fuck is real. Or are they doing this shit on purpose to cut us off from spirit? Let's see. Okay? So, these are symbols derived by these same people. Alright? We're talking about the Faradays and the Maxwells, all these people. Alright? This symbol represents the total dielectrification. This symbol represents total magnification. This symbol represents the total electrification. Okay? And if you want to find the total magnetic inductance, you just divide the total electrification by the total dielectrification. Okay? And you do all of these, right? And then if you want to find the density of that, you just divide that by the area. Okay? So if you want to find the magnetic density, you just divide that by the area. You get the magnetic induction per centimeter squared. Okay? But if you go down here, right, to the electric density, right, which is a hybrid of both of these, you get density of the electric induction per centimeter, motherfucking to the 4th power, okay? And to the 4th power is where scientists think we live in the 4th dimension, or time is in the 4th dimension, okay, which is inaccurate, okay? The only dimensions that exist are space and counter space and all the other dimensions in the multiverses, okay? That's a dimension. Okay, dimension isn't what the fuck they talking about. All right, it's not this. Time ain't nothing but the sun and the moon and the stars moving. That's it. There ain't no concept of time outside of that. All right, besides for these electrical equations, which are just trying to derive motherfucking energy, which is their way of understanding things. All right, boom. So you have the 4 principles of the universe, okay, which is permeativity, which is dielectricity, which is the ability of a substance to store electrical energy in an electrical field, all right, because everything manifests and becomes that electrical field, all existent. That toroidal motherfucking thing. Alright? Boom. But we exist on a plane of motherfucking inertia. Right? Permeability, which is magnetic. The ability of a substance to allow light through it. Okay? Space. Okay? Resistance, the opposition to the flow of electrical currents. Okay? And capacitance, the amount of storage capacity. Alright? How much energy could a system fucking store? Those are the 4 principles that run the whole motherfucking universe. In electrical engineering, these are the 4 dimensions. Total electric dielectric displacement. Alright? So the ether exists, right? And then motherfucking boom, vibrated, boom, dielectricity. Right? That displacement, that motherfucking movement, right? Just like total magnetic induction, right? The induction, the movement of space, right? These motherfucking electromagnetic motherfucking waves, right? Time and space, all dimensions in electrical engineering, not dimensions in reality. The 4 and the 4, okay? Pay attention, because this is why these motherfuckers think time is in the 4th dimension. The 4 phases are AC and DC. Okay, y'all? So, going through all this, right? Oh, light can't be a wave or a particle. You're saying it's 2 fields and all that shit, right? Let's go through some particles and let's talk about what they are. Okay. So an electron, according to J.J. Thomson, the person who discovered the electron, okay, is 1 unit of dielectric acceleration, okay, which is the same thing as motherfucking gravity. Alright, so gravity is the same thing as the magnetic field and dielectric field, which are just motherfucking inverses of each other. It's the same thing with different qualities. It's like saying ice, mist, water. Same shit. Alright, just in different motherfucking pressure fields and shit like that. Okay? The gravity is no different than motherfucking like the dust that gets stuck to your TV. Right? That same motherfucking thing, that's the same thing, the same gravity. Okay? Right? Every electron ever measured has identical properties. Okay, so that's called the one electron theory, where they're like, oh, we measured an electron and they all have the same properties. Every electron in the universe must be one thing. Yeah, it's a unit of dielectric acceleration. Okay, boom. They're too small to measure with current technology. Actually, we can't even measure atoms because they're so fucking small. Okay, and the first motherfucking picture of an atom just came out recently, and that shit looked like a ball of light. Look it up. Motherfucking ball of light. Same shit they were talking about. So when they talk about Lord Kelvin's vortex atoms and shit, okay, that's what the fuck he's talking about. Alright? So from the first video, if y'all don't remember, the only motherfucking particle that exists is a fucking proton. Okay, and we're gonna get into that, right? Because this is just a unit of dielectric acceleration, right? A neutron might not exist. Why? Doesn't exist in electrical equations. Okay? So these electrical equations, neutrons don't exist. Okay? And free neutrons turn to protons in 17 minutes. So basically, this is just energy light. This turns into this. So this might not even exist, right? So, right, we got this unit of dielectricity, right? And then we got this that might not exist. So how about a proton? A proton is a standing wave reaching maximum energy barrier. Okay? So picture these vibrations, right? Boom, 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 right? Boom, boom, boom. And then there's this barrier of motherfucking energy, right? They reach this point. And when that shit breaks through that energy barrier, it motherfucking manifests. Okay? That is what the fuck a proton is. That's that same shit as that ball lightning shit that people are seeing. That is the same thing as a fucking proton. Okay? Just on a bigger level at our level. Okay? It's super high energy light. Gamma. Okay? So, gamma rays, right, manifest into high energy light. And that high energy light actually hits that same motherfucking energy barrier where it fucking manifests, okay? So gamma rays, super high energy light, coaxial circuit, aka signal carrier, okay? So this is your information. This is the consciousness information and shit. This is the fucking carrier of that shit. Alright? So when motherfuckers is talking about the Hulk and shit, he took the gamma radiation, that whole shit. The ancestors aren't fucking around. Ancestors aren't fucking around, y'all. Alright? And particles are just vibrations and fields. Okay? So far, we know that everything is like this, like that, and then this is the repulsion. Alright, what they call repulsion. Alright? Which is really the compression. Okay, which manifests into the fucking plane of inertia, the pure motherfucking power. Alright? Alright? So, if you see, when they're talking about particles in science, alright? When they talk about spin, that's the same shit as saying mass. Okay? So mass and spin is the same shit. Alright? That's what they're measuring. They're just measuring the rate that shit's vibrating. That shit don't got no fucking mass. Okay? That shit don't got no motherfucking weight. That shit don't got none of that shit. Okay? And what happens is mass is the same thing, the same volume, and magnetism. Okay? So, energy measured in the EV refers to dielectric energy. Okay, so when they give you the spin and the mass is the EV, they're talking about dielectricity. Okay? A hydrogen atom equals a neutron field and an electron field. Okay, so when these fields combine, it creates a hydrogen atom. Okay? So, if a neutron exists, that shit is a motherfucking vibration. Okay? And it doesn't work the way scientists are talking about, that it's a binder and stuff, because it's got its own radius and shit like that. Alright, it's got its own charge radius and shit like that, which goes against their own motherfucking predictions and shit like that. Alright, so if that shit exists, right, and they're saying that shit has a charge radius, that goes against what the fuck they're saying that shit is anyway. Okay, so the neutron is a big motherfucking question mark. Alright, but we know that when you combine these, you get a hydrogen atom. Alright? And the hydrogen atom is the battery to the whole motherfucking universe. Right? So the whole universe is powered by motherfucking hydrogen atoms, because all atoms are hydrogen compounds. Okay? So when you vibrate that motherfucking hydrogen, it turns into another element. And that's what that motherfucking Walter Russell chart is talking about. Okay, so that's the science, right? Along with motherfucking Michael Faraday's electrical chemistry and shit like that. Okay, you could do Maxwell's molecular vortices. Okay, even though he's talking about ether and shit like that. Okay, and you can see how through frequencies we can manifest different motherfucking elements. Okay, and then in between each of these, okay, are different keys and different motherfucking spectrums of light. Okay, and then you have a middle point, right? And then you have these motherfucking, so you have a middle point, then you got the high frequencies, and you got the lower frequencies, and then the octaves change. Okay, so you got the full spectrum of our visible light in each one of these. Okay, and then we're right in the middle where carbon exists and all the other elements where life, the way we know it, could exist. Okay, and then here is where, that's when you start getting into your radioactive elements and other shit, so you get your gamma, you get all that shit, so the process fucking repeats again. Okay. So that's a repeating motherfucking cycle of fucking energy. Alright? Repeating fucking cycle. Alright? So, right now, I would like to give y'all a few keys. Okay? To show y'all why this shit's important. Alright? Because they done lied about a lot of shit. Okay? And it's not that they're lying, because this information here, right? So we can access this information, right? So it's not here. Alright? Fair enough. But let me get something else to fucking do this, y'all. Give me a second, y'all. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna figure all this shit out right here. I'll turn this motherfucker up. Alright, put y'all here real quick. Alright, let me get something to wipe that shit off. I'm gonna show y'all right now, right? This how I'm gonna end it off, right? But nah, I'm not saying we end in this second. This how I'm gonna end this shit off, right? I'm gonna give y'all some of the symbols, right? And we're gonna go through that, right? And we're gonna think about it from the way that the scientists are saying right now, this whole wave particle shit. And I want y'all to think about what the fuck I just said, because none of this shit is my opinion, y'all. And if something's my opinion, I will show y'all that shit. Right? If y'all want to see what I'm doing, I'm just erasing this shit. Wrote this shit down. Fucking wrote this shit down, and I guess the shit stood a little more than fuck I was expecting. Alright. So it's not easy, y'all. It's not easy erasing this board, my friend. Might need a new. Damn. I know you're like, damn, you being anal, bro, wiping that whole shit. Alright. Alright, let me show y'all some shit real quick. Alright, tell me if y'all good. Let me see. Let me fix this camera up for y'all. Up or down, up or down. No, I'm good. Oh, fuck. Alright. So, actually, real quick, let me go through there. Let me show you some shit. This also a black hole. Alright. Let me show y'all this shit real quick. See this shit? That's a black hole. That same motherfucking, that dream catcher symbol and shit like that, right? That's a black hole. Let me show y'all. So basically, what a black hole is a portal where everything, like the magnetism is leaving motherfucking space. Okay. So basically, right, you got like a black hole, right? And that shit shoots out fucking mad fucking hydrogen. They call that shit jets and shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, that shit shoots out mad fucking hydrogen, right? So I'll give y'all this shit the other day. I'm gonna show y'all this shit again. Alright, so look, you got this, right? It's a pound of water, right? Whoa, that's a pound of water. Right, then picture a fucking, you drop something and then the splash, right? So you got the splash, boom, 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 boom. That's the splash. So the hydrogen, right? The black hole, right? That's protruding out motherfucking hydrogen, right? Oh, right. That's the fucking, that's the rock in the pond, right? So basically, like, right? Right, you got boom, boom, boom. Right, you got boom, boom, boom. You got boom, 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 man. Right, that's like, I'll do that shit, Massimo. This shit's like, this is the fucking portal geometry. Alright, so I'm gonna show you how they already know this shit. Okay. So, damn, I knocked the fuck out of my phone. Alright, so this, right, is also, when the shit leaves, it also, when it comes out the other fucking side of the fucking portal, that's why you see the stargates, they always shaped like that, like a fucking circle and shit, and they got like that, it looks like almost water and shit, but it's really like electricity, because electricity flows like water, like the ether, it flows, it's all the same shit, it all follows the same geometry, and shit like that, right? So,
it comes out the other side like that too. You know what I mean? So basically, what you got going on here, number one, you got like a tree, right? You have like this tree, the fucking tree, which connects all that shit, right? So all these portals, all these dimensions, you got some shit that connects all of it, right? Through the fucking splash, right? The splash, right? That's almost like that. But that geometry in between here, in between these fucking points here, that geometry is this. You do that. That's that. See what I'm saying? That's that symbol. Right? Actually, if you want to know what the fuck they talking about, they really talking about this shit, right? So, let's do some, right? Let's do some Illuminati shit, right? Or some shit, right? I should draw out a little symbol for y'all, some shit, alright? So, let's do this, right? You got the triangle, right? Illuminati, right? Freemason, right? Then you got this fucking, you got this shit, right? You got a fucking eye, right? Sometimes they even do this, right? With the fucking, the fucking, this one, right? And then they'll have like that, right? Like the fucking, the snake, right? The Ouroboros, right? Ooh, right? You got the fucking snake, right? Boom, you got this guy, right? The snake is the vortex, right? Whoop. Okay. The triangle, right? Or the pyramid is the dielectric, right? When you're looking down on the motherfucking pyramid, right? Like that, right? And you got this shit, right? The four sides, right? You got that shit, right? Boom, that's the dielectric, right? You got the hourglass shape, right? Boom. That shit, the dielectric. Alright, boom, the power. And you got the magnetism, you got the dielectric, boom, and you got that, right? The fucking plane of inertia. Boom, the plane of inertia. The plane of motherfucking inertia. Okay? If y'all don't believe me, I'm gonna give y'all, damn, I don't want to give away all my shit. I'm gonna give y'all a few though. Alright? But I'm gonna write a book on this shit. Alright? I'm gonna give y'all all this shit. Alright? I'm gonna give y'all some shit today, too. Alright, so if y'all ever heard of the star Arcturus, right? So yeah, Arcturus. Forgive my handwriting on my left, yeah. I ain't trying to touch the motherfucking whiteboard. Yeah, Arcturus, right? Can y'all see this shit? Hold on. This shit backwards. Alright. Alright, so let me reiterate. Hopefully y'all seen that, right? You got the pond, you drop a rock in the fucking pond, right? It makes that splash. But if you do that sideways, right, it'll come out like that, right? Like the portals. And the splash also creates a splash on the other side when it splashes in, boom, right? Boom, 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 boom. Right? That creates that symbol, right? Because the Masons, right, it's the east, right? It's up. Right? East is up. Right? So if east is up, right, you got east, up. Right, that would be north and south, right? Right, then they do the pillars, right? So you got pillars, right? That'll be the tree, right? The pillars, right? The magic wand, right? Bro, they talking about all this shit right in people's face, right? So boom, you got Arcturus. So let's do the Egyptians. The Egyptians had they had this symbol for Arcturus, right? Boom. And then, some dots. It's actually 7 lines though, right? So boom. That is the same thing as the scarab's wings, right? So the geometry of the scarab, right, is the same shit as some of the standing waves in electricity, and these all match the same shit, right? This symbol is also for Arcturus. Okay, oops. My goodness, what the fuck is that shit? Drew a whole person. Boom. Okay, so you got the 1, the 1, and the 1. Alright, some shit. It's a fucking star, right? The pentagram. Okay? That is the most powerful summoning symbol in motherfucking the universe, okay? So that is literal portal fucking geometry, okay? And I went over the other video on how they motherfucking use antennas, right? And they use the golden ratio, right? For their shit, right? And then the fucking geometry of this shit, right, is the 36 degrees, which is the same shit as if you was to put a circle here, you used to cut it into the 5 sides, it'd be 36 degrees, which is the same shit as a motherfucking pentagram. Okay, so that's how they're fucking receiving the motherfucking signals from the other motherfucking dimensions and shit. Okay, that's the motherfucking science behind that, right? Boom. Then this is another symbol by the Egyptians for Arcturus, the motherfucking star, right? Motherfucking waves. Literal waves. Let me stop. Hold up. Here's another one. One more for y'all. Alright, look. You got this line, right? Let me see if I draw this shit right. You got like this. You got like this. You got like this, right? This is a fucking standing wave. Yo, listen. The ancients wasn't fucking around about their knowledge. But the problem is since we're so motherfucking institutionalized with this wave particle motherfucking materialistic bullshit that motherfuckers can't even see how things manifest from motherfucking non-physical reality to even have the spiritual motherfucking talk with them, right? Because a motherfucker is gonna ask for some physical tangible shit when all this physical tangible shit manifests from non-physical tangible shit. And like how our society nowadays has a million motherfucking definitions and words to describe things, the ancients didn't have that. They had motherfucking symbolism. And when motherfuckers could look at this shit, they'll see it for what it is. It's not motherfucking rocket science, actually. Even though this topic is not simple, but it's not, not easy either. So I get it, y'all. But even deeper than that, I could show you some of the lies too, right? So, when it comes to that masonry shit, right, they'll have like, the checkered shit, right, like that, right? They got like the checkered shit, right? And then it'd be like, the dark ones, boo, 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 boom, like that, like every other one, right? Dark, 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 right? I don't know, whatever. Anyway, right? Yeah, the checkered shit, right? I know I did it wrong. Don't fucking criticize me right now. Anyway, oh wait, no, I didn't do it wrong. Boom. Okay, right? You got the checkered shit, right? That, when you see that, right, along with the columns, okay, then you got the shit pointing to the east with the staircase that represents the Kundalini energy, which is the actual vortex, right? So, boom, 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 you see staircase, that's the vortex. This is the space grid that they're drawing out, but they grid us in the box. So this is the box that they keep us in. It's also the black cube, okay? It's also time. It's everything that they box us into, the spatial grid, okay? But actually, the space, right, when you compress all those fucking things, they actually come out into this hexagonal shape because that's actually the most motherfucking efficient. So I can't draw it out right now. My drawing skills aren't that good. I could, but it won't come out that well. It's the honeycomb shape. So picture these circles as actual hexagons, right? So the honeycomb shape is how this grid is actually set up. Okay, and the light and the dark, the duality, that's the dielectricity and the magnetism, which is actually one. Okay, so the yin and yang shit, the two things being one, you know what I mean? That shit with the fucking the thing here chasing each other, right? The yin and yang shit. I did not draw that good at all. That's the same shit as the duality being the oneness. Okay, that's the same shit as saying magnetism, dielectricity, and motherfucking counter space and ether and all that shit. Alright, they were been motherfucking telling us this shit. Alright, and it's here in the motherfucking artwork, all of that. If you look, but you gotta look. Alright, I'm gonna end it off right here. I'm gonna give y'all one more. Alright. Remember Darth, right? Yeah, remember Darth? Okay. Right? Darth Vader? Okay. Right? Darth Vader? Alright. Darth Vader? Me, motherfucker. Darth Vader, man. Darth Vader. Right? Boom. That's also the electric field, right? That's the electric field. Let me draw out the shit in Samaria. Alright? This is the shit that's on the tablet, that's on top of the table and shit, right? Look at this. You got the circle and you got a bigger circle, right? And then yeah, you got like this, right? Boom, you got like a triangle. You got a triangle here. You got a triangle. You got a triangle here. Then you got these squigglies. Squiggly line. Squigglies. Right? There's 3 of them on each. And you put a circle around it. That's Darth. That's the electric field. That's Darth. Darth Vader. Electric field. Darth. Spirit. The fucking the wheel. The wheel of fortune. Okay? Alright, y'all. Deep ass shit that they was hiding from us. But they wasn't hiding it because it's there. Alright, so it's not like motherfuckers don't know this shit. It's just that we not seeing it because they blinding us from seeing what the fuck reality is. But a lot of us know this shit too. Right? That's why I remember the dielectricity. Right? That's also Zeus. The trident. Okay? His motherfucking trident. The lightning bolt. The dielectric motherfucking power. Alright, y'all? It's hard to convey a message when you don't have that many motherfucking ways to explain it. Right? So if you look at the Sumerians, right, and what they had on their fucking neck, right? They had the cross, right? They had a cross, right? And it was like that, right? It's like that, right? They got that shit on their neck, right? That shit, right? But tell me how that's different than me drawing out 4 vortexes right now. Right? 4 magnetic vortexes. Right? Right? Hurricanes, right? Going out. Right? Right? Vortexes. Listen, respect the ancestors. Look at the symbolism. Do your homework on the science. The science proves our ancestors 100%. But, we can't just listen to what these scientists say. Okay? There's scientists that they don't even talk about. Alright? So we need to take science as what it is, science. We need to drop names. Okay? I know I was naming names. Alright? That was to give people an idea of the genius level scientists that already gave us this shit. That they trying to give us mid-tier engineers and low-level motherfuckers when it comes to the reality of their own science. And who the fuck is the top dogs and the people who gave us motherfucking everything that we still use till this day. Okay? So, I hope that was a good lesson. Alright? I'm going to end it here. And I hope y'all enjoy the rest of your days or evening, whatever time it is for you. I'm going to get deeper about this subject in my book. I got other book coming out right now. I'm not necessarily going to come out with this book anytime soon. But I would love to dive into the subject more with people. I would love for the collective to get more into this subject here so that they can see the ancestral knowledge everywhere when they look at the pyramids, at the walls, and they look at anything. There's knowledge everywhere. All right, and it's there. It's accessible. Okay. So until the next time, y'all. Peace.